All right, today we're stepping into the high-stakes world of corporate law. We're going to unpack a really powerful institution that shapes the business landscape in India, the National Company Law Tribunal, or as you'll hear it called, the NCLT. Let's get right into it.
It's a huge question, right? When there's a dispute, when shareholders feel they've been wronged, or heck, when a whole company is in trouble, who do you actually turn to for justice? You see, before 2016, the system was, well, it was a mess. A total tangled web. A single corporate problem could get bounced between the company law board, different high courts, and another body for sick companies. This wasn't just confusing. It caused these endless delays. Imagine the frustration for businesses.
So, to get our heads around all of this, we're going to break it down into 5 key parts. We'll start with what the NCLT actually is, then we'll look at the legal tools you can use, we'll dive into some real-world problems it solves, follow the path to a final ruling, and then wrap up with why this court is such a big deal for everyone. Okay, first up, let's get to the heart of what this tribunal is all about and why it was even created in the first place. At its core, you can think of the NCLT as a one-stop shop for corporate justice. It took all these scattered powers from those previous bodies and pulled them together under one roof. So now you have one specialized place for all things company law. In short, it's pretty much a super court for corporations. And the change was, wow, it was dramatic. Before 2016, you had that chaotic, fragmented system. But on June 1st, 2016, the NCLT was born, creating a single, streamlined path for handling pretty much every kind of corporate dispute you can think of, from mergers to mismanagement. So now that we know what it is, let's talk about how you actually interact with it. What are the tools you have at your disposal? Essentially, there are 3 main ways you bring something to the NCLT. For the really big, fundamental issues, like shareholders being treated unfairly or even dissolving a company, you file a petition. For more specific, procedural things, you use an application. And if you need to challenge a specific action the company took, well, that's when you file an appeal. Okay, this is where it gets really interesting. Let's look at some common problems and see exactly how the NCLT steps in to fix things. So imagine this. You've legally bought shares in a company, but the management just refuses to put your name on the official list of members. They're basically denying you your rights as a shareholder. What do? Well, the law is very clear here. You got to act fast. You can appeal to the NCLT, but the clock is ticking. And notice the deadlines are different. The window is actually shorter for a private company. But at the end of the day, the NCLT is the authority that can step in and force that company to register your shares. All right, here's another classic, the AGM. I mean, it's a cornerstone of corporate democracy, right? It's that mandatory yearly meeting where shareholders get to hold management accountable. But what if the directors just don't call one? This is what's so empowering. The law gives any single member, yep, just one shareholder, the right to go to the NCLT and ask it to force the company to hold that meeting. The NCLT can even say, hey, even if only one member shows up, that meeting is valid. Now, this is one of the most serious things the NCLT handles. In legal terms, it's called oppression and mismanagement. It's what happens when the people in charge run the company in a way that's totally unfair or harmful to the minority shareholders. This quote from case law gets right to the absolute core of the NCLT's power. It shows the tribunal doesn't just look at whether someone followed the rules on paper. It asks if the conduct was fair. An action can be perfectly legal but still be considered oppressive, and that's when the NCLT can step in with its wide-ranging powers to make things right. Okay, so you've got a case. How does it actually travel through the system? Let's walk through a simplified version of that journey. The process follows a pretty logical path. It all kicks off when you file your case. Then, the other side gets formally notified. After that, both parties lay out their cards and submit evidence, usually in written statements called affidavits. That all leads up to the main event, the hearing, where you make your arguments. And finally, it all wraps up with a final, binding order from the tribunal. Now, here's a number that points to a pretty clever legal move you can make. 90 days. Any guesses what that could be for? It's for something called a caveat. So if you think someone might file a case against you and try to get a quick order without you there, you can file a caveat. It's basically a legal heads up to the court. For the next 90 days, if that case is filed, the tribunal has to let you know before it does anything. It's a great way to make sure you're never caught off guard. It's also really important to note this is a two-level system. The NCLT is where you start, it hears the case for the first time, but if you're not happy with the outcome, you don't go to a high court. Instead, you appeal to the National Company Law Appellate Tribunal, or NCLAT. That's the next level up the ladder. So let's zoom all the way out and look at the bigger impact of this institution. Why does the NCLT really, truly matter? When you get right down to it, the NCLT's impact is about so much more than just settling fights. It builds investor confidence because there's a reliable system to fix problems. It strengthens corporate democracy by giving minority shareholders a real voice. It pushes for good governance by holding companies accountable. And it makes business more efficient by smoothing out all those complex corporate procedures. And that really brings us to our final thought. The whole goal was to replace that broken, fragmented system with one powerful, efficient supercourt for business. So the big question we're left with is this: has the NCLT truly made corporate justice faster, fairer, and more accessible for everyone involved? Thanks for tuning in.